Everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about how to have patience during your trials or hardships. So I first want to start out with a Quran verse, and it first says, people think they will be left alone after saying we believe without being put to the test. We all go through trials and hardships, and sometimes these hardships can really feel heavy, and they can cause us to feel angry or frustrated or really upset with just everything in our life. While we're facing these trials, one big thing that we're constantly always told in the Quran is to have sabr and to have patience and to also stick with prayer, but most importantly is to have patience. And that can be really, really hard, especially when you're just going through something and you just want it to end, like you just want it to be over with and done with, and you want to move on and just skip to the part where you're just happy and everything is bright and everything. But that's not life. You have to go through things, and sometimes you can't just skip over the hardships. You just have to go through it, even though it's really, really hard and it's difficult, and sometimes it just feels like there's so much weight on your shoulder. So in this video, I just want to talk about the things that I've learned or the things that have helped me to cultivate patience whilst I'm going through my own trials. And these are some of the things I've learned along the way and some of the things that I have recently learned too as well. So hopefully this video will help you if you are going through anything. So the first tip that I have is to just feel your emotions. And sometimes it can be really hard to do this because there's this idea that if you have to exercise sabr whilst going through hardship, that you shouldn't feel any type of way. You should just be thankful and be grateful and just be calm and at ease. But the reality is that we're not like that. We're not rocks. It's okay to feel your emotions during whatever you're going through, because you're human at the end of the day, and you're not the only one, again, who's going through it. There's so many other people who are also maybe feeling the exact same way as you do through whatever trial that they're going through. And emotions make us human. Everyone has emotions. Everyone has feelings. Even somebody who you think is strong and they seem unbreakable, they are. Because at the end of the day, you're human. Especially as a Muslim, it's important to know that our reliance shouldn't be on our own strength, though we are given strength, but that strength only comes from Allah, not from our own self. Allah is Al-Qadir, so He's the most powerful. So He is in control of everything, and He can turn one thing into the next. He can flip over your life. It's also important to remember that there is a numerous amount of prophets and just really important people within our Islamic history that have also gone through hardships, and they have also expressed their emotions. And these are people we literally read in either the Quran or from the Sunnah or just from the stories of the Prophet, and they were people who have the highest place in paradise or who are guaranteed paradise, and yet they still had human feelings. They still cried, they still mourned, they still felt anger. Everybody, all of them had human, real, raw human emotions. For example, there's Yaqub alayhi salam. He cried so much at the loss of Yusuf alayhi salam, to the point where he went blind. He cried so much, and it wasn't because his faith was weak or because he was just in so much distress and he didn't believe in Allah or anything like that. No, it was he was a father who lost his son. It was simple as that. And he mourned, he cried, he wept. An example is the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He cried at the loss of his sons, at the loss of Khadija, some of his family members that are really close to him, that have helped him on his journey towards prophethood. He also cried and mourned too. So if the greatest of mankind, the greatest human being ever, cried and mourned over people that he lost and through the trials and tribulations that he went through, then who are we to be mad at ourselves for feeling any type of emotion whilst going through a hardship? It's completely okay. It's completely normal. Isa alayhi salam's mother, so Maryam, she cried out to Allah while she was giving birth, and she literally word for word said that she'd rather be dead than to give birth. She was in that much excruciating pain whilst giving birth that she felt she couldn't handle it. But Allah was still there, and He helped her through the whole labor process, and He didn't not lower her ranks because she had an outburst and was really just in so much pain and agony and didn't want to be in labor. He didn't lower her status because of that. Instead, He increased it and He helped her with it. All three of these people who we read all the time and who have the greatest and highest ranks in paradise were able to cry and have emotions during their hardships. And who are we to complain, and who are we to shun out our human emotion. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you do feel any sort of emotion. Like, you should just like sit in it, embrace it, and just like, you know, feel through it rather than to block it. Because if you just block it, I mean, you can block it for only so long till like, you know, you burst out, and it's just not gonna result in anything good. And you also can't be able to like, you know, properly function or work if you're just constantly suppressing, because one way or another, whatever you're suppressing is gonna find its way out. This is something, again, that was really hard for me too, because sometimes I'd go through hardships and feel so guilty for feeling a certain way, not acknowledge how I'm feeling. But that's like the opposite of what you want to do. You want to acknowledge what you're feeling. Like, God wants you to acknowledge what you're feeling and talk to him about it. He doesn't want you to suppress it, you know? The second tip that I have is to find peace, comfort, and guidance in Allah. So you may have heard of this before, but you're probably wondering, okay, well, what does that look like? How do I do it? Like, how do I find peace and comfort and guidance in Allah? Like, what do I do? Is it just prayer? Is it just like, what do I do? In order to find peace, comfort, and guidance in Allah, the first step you have to do is obviously through prayer. You just have to be real and honest with your feelings with Allah. And I think this was really like hard for me to do, because I felt like when I was praying, you know, it's kind of like, I guess, robotic, and it had to be kind of formulated. Like, I can't just, you know, say like, oh, like, ya Allah, like, I'm like sad about this, or I'm angry about this, or I'm frustrated because this happened. Like, I feel like I couldn't really do that. But over the past few years, I've learned that actually that's the best way to really connect and to especially find peace in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to just be honest with your feelings. Because at the end of the day, like, he knows your heart better than anyone else. He knows your intentions better than anyone else, and he knows exactly what you're going through better than anyone else. I mean, you could literally explain your situation and explain how you're feeling to somebody over and over and over again, and they could still like in their head not get it. But with Allah, like, I mean, you could literally say it once and he like understands it, like he completely gets it. And again, you can even repeat it with him and he doesn't get tired of it. Like, he just enjoys that, because then that's you acknowledging that he is the one, he's the source of your answers, he's the source of peace, and he's the source of tranquility, and he's the only one who can offer you the peace, who can offer you the healing that you need, and nobody else can. Like, nobody else can do that. And you also, when you do that, it also shows that you acknowledge that Allah is Al-Alim, the all-knowing, and he knows everything. Like I said earlier, he knows what you're going through, he knows what you're feeling, he knows the conflicting emotions you have, the love and the hate, the anger, the jealousy, or whatever you have in your heart. Like, he knows it. And so when you just go up to him and say, "Yo, Allah, this is how I'm feeling," and just say it, even if you're scared, even if you feel like in your heart, man, I shouldn't feel this way, this is bad, you should just let it out to him, because he's the only one who can fix it, you know? He's Al-Jabbar, the mender, so he's the one who's going to be able to fix it, and he's the only one who's going to be able to handle all of your just emotions and all of whatever situation you're going through and be able to turn it around. But then you might be asking yourself, okay, but like, if he already knows, then why should I tell him? Like, why does it matter if I voice it out if he already knows? Like, there's no point. Like, I don't get it. I got you. When you go to Allah, this could be a way of you bonding with him. Somewhere it says that sometimes when you go through a trial or hardship, that's kind of Allah's way of bringing you closer to him. Because at that moment in time, you know that there's not a lot of people who can help you. If anything, nobody can help you. You know that at some point you're like completely helpless. You can't do anything. You can't maybe even get out of bed, or even like get out of your mental block. And you just literally are at the lowest point in your life. So when you're in that just situation with all those things, no help, feeling hopeless and in complete despair, going to Allah and seeking his compassion, all of that can, you know, start to formulate a strong bond with him, because then you start to realize that he's the only one who can help you, and he's the only one who can bring light into your life. And as things get better on, you'll slowly start to see that the more you rely on Allah, the more that he is there for you, the more that he helps you in ways that you couldn't even imagine. And then you start to understand that, oh, like you, and in the process of, you know, constantly worshiping, in the process of constantly talking to him, you start to change. Your mind starts to take on new perspectives that you probably never thought of taking on. So instead of thinking one way of the situation, you think of your situation in a different way, which helps you get through it. Or it could be that, you know, this hardship that you're going through, and you talking to Allah about it, and you know, facing it, could be a way of getting maybe one of your past du'as that you constantly made out to him being answered. Like, this hardship is just leading you not only closer to Allah, but also closer to a dua that you have been asking him for maybe a while, and now he's answering it because of this hardship. I think another important and really important thing that you have to do, especially if you're going through a trial or hardship, is to ask Allah for guidance, ask him to keep you on the straight path, and ask him to heal you. Because especially during trials, it's sometimes so easy to let the voice of shaitan really get to you, of like, oh well, then you shouldn't pray, oh well, then there's no point of doing this, there's no point of doing that, and you can so easily lose yourself because you think that this possibly could be a punishment, or that it's like a revenge scheme, or like you just could have like really unrational thoughts about Allah and just about like the world in itself, and you don't want that. And so in order to like at least decrease it, because you know sometimes, like again, whispers of shaitan sometimes can get to us, like we're human, it happens, but just constantly seeking Allah's guidance, constantly seeking Allah's help, and constantly seeking Allah's aid in what you're going through and through the emotions that you're having can really help you keep you on the straight path, and can keep you away from going far and having irrational thoughts that will eventually lead you to losing your faith. Because faith is the one thing that like literally no one can take away from you, and it's something that you definitely need to build up, especially during hardships. Like it's really hard to have that, but it's the one thing that you need to hold on. Like you need to hold on to it like a rope, like as if you're playing like, you know, tug of war, and you don't want the other side to end. Like you need to like grab onto it, even if it's hard. Like you just need to like, you know, just grab onto it and keep pulling. I don't know why I had to do that, but like you get it. So a third tip I have is to not engage in unhealthy escapism. And I know this is so easy to do, and I've done this so many times, and I'm telling you, it is not the best thing to do. Like it's normal to want some sort of escapism from whatever problem that you're going through, like either through going out with friends or watching movies, doing whatever you can to just block out whatever you're going through. When you do that, it's like, here's your problem, and instead of your problem kind of breaking down and just watering down and just kind of like, you know, dissolving on its own, you're kind of letting it build up, and then it's like becomes like, let's say, a ball, and then it just becomes really hard, and then to the point where you want to fix it, but you can't because it feels so like tough, and you've just let it like build up on its own. And because you didn't deal with it, because you didn't necessarily seek Allah, or you didn't like want to like see like, oh, I don't want to deal with it, now it's just this big hard ball. And not only that, but then more problems as they happen to you over time, it's just gonna become bigger and bigger, and then soon you have this like huge just ball of problems, ball of like emotions, and so much to unpack. Because, you know, when it was this small, you didn't want to deal with it. Okay, it's this big, still don't want to deal with it. This big, you don't want to deal with it. It's just gonna keep becoming bigger and bigger. I said it earlier before, for step 2, you have to just first and foremost seek comfort in Allah. Like it's not like, okay, the minute you seek comfort in him, like he's gonna fix it right then and there. No, sometimes it could happen, but most of the time it's gonna take time. And like again, that's why I mentioned all the other things to do, like to like engage in prayer, to engage in worship, to engage in doing good deeds, and in doing service to others, and just really immersing yourself in the deen, and really immersing yourself in Allah in whatever way or form or shape that you can really help the progression of your trial feel a lot less burdensome than it already is. Fourth tip that I have here is to engage in small changes. I mentioned before, like if you're seeking Allah, you know, through prayer, through reading, through doing good deeds, through doing acts of service, now you want to also make smaller changes within your life, just so that, again, like we're trying to build up patience. And trials could last for like sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years, 10 years even. And so during that time, you just don't want to not only engage in worship, but you also want to busy yourself with other things. It's also good to change up your environment, change up your normal routine, or do something different, just so that you're able to take your mind off of what you're actually going through. So for instance, this could be like, maybe if you don't do any physical activity, maybe now's a good time to start exercising, start stretching, maybe start going on walks, start hiking. Maybe you want to do a different hobby, maybe start reading, start writing, maybe go, I don't know, kayaking, horseback riding, whatever it is. Like just engage in something different and try to do whatever you can with your situation, and try something new and different. This in conjunction with trying to gain closeness towards Allah is really going to help you feel just holistically like much more better. Again, it may not take away the pain, all of the pain that you're facing in your trial or hardship, but it will still make it manageable, and this will definitely build up your patience, because now you're not only hyper focused on, oh my gosh, there's this problem or there's a situation and I can't deal with it. Now you have you're diversifying yourself basically into looking into different things, and you're occupying yourself with different things, and so you're able to have healing in one part with your faith and spirituality, but also in the dunya sense, you're able to engage in things that will help you, that will stimulate your mind, that will activate your body, and you're just going to be a much more full and wholer person if you engage in both of these things. And the last tip that I have, number 5, is that just know that you'll make it through. It is hard because sometimes these trials can really feel like they last forever, and you just feel like, will it ever get better? I really ever overcome this? It feels like it's eating me alive. I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I don't know a way out. I don't see light anymore. All I see is literal darkness. But just know that you can, and that you will get out of it. And again, like I mentioned before in the verse, Allah says, do you think you'll just be able to say you believe but won't be tested? You'll be tested. Like I mentioned earlier before with the emotions and how there are different prophets and prominent people within Islamic history that have gone through hardships and trials and have expressed their deep emotions and deep just confusion and anger with their situation. Similarly, there are so many other prophets and prominent people within our Islamic history that have made it out through whatever trials and tribulations that they have been put through. Like Yunus, he was able to get out of the whale. Musa alayhi salam was able to take down the Pharaoh. Yusuf alayhi salam was able to receive justice. Aisha radiallahu anha, her reputation was saved by Allah. Asiya, the wife of the Pharaoh, was also saved, and she literally got a house next to Allah whilst being tortured by the Pharaoh. So if all these people were able to get out of the situations that honestly we think are oh my gosh, there's no way out, there's literally no way out, but Allah always makes a way out for them, each and every single one of them. I mean, there's just so many people who have gone through trials, and the prophets, again, people who we read about all the time, who have gone through trials for a long period of time or even a short amount of time, but regardless of the length of the trial, Allah was there for them. He was there for them. And just like he was there for them some 100 years ago, he is going to be there for you now, today, in the 21st century. With all of the crazy things that are happening to us, Allah will still be there for you. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any other tips on how to handle hardship or how to have patience whilst going through a hardship, please write them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.